Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Heal the Industry podcast. I am so excited to have you guys here today. I have a really good friend that I have known for like many, many years in the industry. Like our paths have crossed along like leveling up our experiences when it comes to doing all things hair. And I love all the things that she's been sharing like on social media. And so I felt called to like ask her like, hey, do you want to like come on the podcast and like talk about this stuff that you're sharing? And I was so grateful that she agreed and said yes. So everyone, I would like to introduce you to Aleta. She is extension extravaganza, like expert at fabulousness. And I would love for you to go ahead and take a chance to introduce yourself.
Well, you said I'm Aleta, and thank you so much for having me on and for asking me to do this. It was actually a bit of a surprise because I feel like sometimes we post things and we're like, I hope it lands in the right person, and you saw it. So thanks for, saying that because that means a lot. I'm sure you know that as somebody who posts. So just to say a little bit about myself, my name is Aleta. Like we said, I own Amp Hair Extension Studio in Mishawaka, Indiana. I have been doing hair for, I cannot believe this, but it's like coming up on 20 years. I got licensed in 2007 and I am a mom and a wife. And like you said, I do hair extensions. My salon is mostly hair extension based.
Yeah. And beautiful. Like if anybody who's listening lives in her area or wants to like fly in to get some extensions, like I'm telling you, go check out her work. It's like absolutely stunning. Like bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, thanks. So to start things off, like I just kind of want to like roll into some questions of when you think about the beauty industry as like a whole, where do you see scarcity show up the most? Because that's kind of like what you were talking about that like really grabbed to me, because I do believe there's so much like scarcity. And so I'd love to hear like your perspective on that.
Well, when I kind of think back on my career and I think about scarcity, I will always go back to like after I had children and maternity leave. Scarcity shows up there because in our mind, we're like, the longer I'm away from the salon, the longer it is that people may not want to come back to me. And that might happen. But like at the end of the day, as opposed to being afraid that people are going to leave our books, why aren't we just excited for no matter what happens? And, too often we just get too focused on not having enough and always having to be there. And I think that kind of rolls into the other side of it to where it's like, we put our life on hold so that we can always be available for clients, because I think that's what we're taught from the beginning is like, have your availability so that clients can get into you whenever they want to. And we take it and run with it. And, before you know it, you're working 6 days a week and 10, 12-hour days, and you don't know how that happened.
Right. Totally. No, I completely agree. If like when I look back, scarcity mostly set in before I had kids. Absolutely. And it's almost like, I don't know if it was for you, but like once I had kids, it was like the first time that I like started thinking outside of self, right? It wasn't about me, it was about them. And that totally changed my perspective of like, no, like I need to be like home at night. And I mean, I was not perfect with this, but like I need to be home at night. I need to honor my policies. Like I need to stick to my boundaries because I have these little people that are my heart outside of my body that I'm responsible for, And so I totally agree. Like after, like before kids and after kids, it's like totally different version.
And my whole experience is coming from a different avenue because I had children before I had my career. I was 17 when I had my first child. So for me, it was do or die, right? Like I remember having like, this is one of the things that I will never forget. And it's actually what based me on like running and being as successful as I could is I'm already getting emotional thinking about it. But after the day that I had him, I can remember looking at him and just promising him we weren't going to be a statistic. And that is why I pushed myself. And I went complete opposite of you is like, I told myself I had no room to fail. So I was calling every single person I could think of. My husband, who isn't even my boys' father, was taking care of my boys more than I was because I was not going to break that promise. And that's how I became who I am the hard way. But I don't want other people to like go through those years of believing that the only way to have success is by pushing yourself like that. So, coming from a perspective of somebody who started with children is completely different. So like, I mean, we both had that same desire, but like when you start having children after you're having your career, it's hard to step away from that because it's like, gosh, what's going to happen now when I say I can't do that anymore? But like, then you're faced with the fact that if you don't say that you can do that, then you're not going to be able to be there with the kids. And why did you choose to have children to begin with? Right. And then for me, it was like, I had this story in myself that if I wasn't completely available, I was going to fail my son and my children. So then when I made that change in my career, that was like a huge identity crisis for me. I mean, it was probably a whole year or two of meltdowns pretty much every single day.
Yeah, totally. Because like you're stepping into a new version of yourself. So it's like you're in this like tug pull of like stepping back into what is familiar, but also knowing that it can't stay this way. And like there is like that friction of being caught in the crossfire of like that transformation and the anxiousness that comes from that. Like not very many people talk about that.
Yeah, and learning how to have faith that it can work.
Yes, exactly. And like surrendering yourself and being open, like God put this on your heart and having this a part of your testimony, like for a reason. And like trusting in that and like moving boldly in that. It's like so important. Yeah. So how do you think scarcity became so deeply woven into our industry culture, especially around like clients and money and opportunities? Like, what do you think that like stems from?
Me? I'm sorry, you cut out in the middle of your question.
No, I'll go ahead and record. I'll re-ask it. So, okay. So how do you think scarcity became so deeply woven into our industry culture? Like, especially around like clients and money and opportunity and stuff like that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there's so much competition, and as opposed to staying in our own lanes, we compete with each other, first of all. And I think that actually, I mean, as a salon owner, I think we actually we keep that up even so with our own stylist without even meaning to, by the way that we choose to pay people. I think that the way that we pay people is kind of weird. What profession actually gets a percentage of what somebody pays you? Like most people have a salary. We're supposed to be professionals, but like that's weird. I don't know, that's weird to me. I mean, that's one thing that I do differently in my salon is like a couple years ago, I upped my prices by 25%, stopped asking for tips, and then I started paying based on what the salon can afford on a payroll scale, as opposed to what percentage each person brings in. So it works for us. I am a newer salon with a smaller staff. So if you have a larger staff, that's hard to kind of change and transition. But when I started thinking about those things, I was just like, man, number one, the way that we pay ourselves, because like if I'm a stylist and I go on vacation and in our salons we're a team, we have to work together. Well, guess what, if I have a new install that somebody's supposed to pay me $4,000 and they usually tip me $500, and they go to my friend next door and they get that $4,000 service and that $500 tip, that sucks. That's a competition. And I don't want that person to not ask for me the next time. But what if they really enjoyed that person? Now we're competing. And again, we don't mean to, but it's human nature. So that I think plays a whole role in it. I think that it sets us up even at beauty school, like even when it comes to social media, the way that we try to market ourselves. Again, I know it's done well. It's not done with the intention of trying to compete with each other, but because it's just like cutthroat. And if you're not part of it, that's just like what the feeling is typically, The other part that I feel like we do is I think that sometimes we another part of it is that when it comes to salon owners, most salon owners are only able to like profit if they're doing hair behind the chair, because they're paying their stylist so much that they can't really afford to not do hair behind the chair. And then
Right.
what happens with that is that we don't have the time to properly train our stylists. So then what's happening is stylists are stepping onto the hair floor and getting too much responsibility before they should be doing it. So then,
Right.
you know, as a stylist who isn't ready to do a service, you're starting your career in scarcity because you're not confident. You're not confident in what you're doing because nobody set you up for success. Whereas it's like,
Right.
as salon owners, if we took 6 weeks to set them up for success before we allowed them to do a blowout even, that is going to look completely different.
Right.
I don't know. I think that those two things where it's just kind of like a salon owner, even again, but it stems from the pay scale, in my opinion. And I know
Yeah.
that's probably a trigger warning for a lot of people, but I think it's true. We don't run a salon business as a regular business. And I'm coming from a corporate idea. I actually,
Yeah.
before I was a stylist and like owning a salon or an independent stylist, I was a district leader for Regis Corporation. So I had up to 11 stores at one time. And before that, I was the salon manager of Smart Style, which is inside of Walmart. So one of the things that they always preached to us was our payroll. And it always had to be lower than a certain percentage. Well, payroll percentage for like an average, successful, profitable business should be around 30%. Well, your pay, that percent would be the total of your revenue. But if we're paying our stylist 40% commission and our revenue is mostly coming from services, our profit level is going down. And like selling a salon, most salons to an entrepreneur, they couldn't do it if they didn't have us. That's not a smart business decision from them. But as a stylist, we should be, or like as a salon owner, we should be building our salon so that any business person would want to own that. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to, if I'm explaining this properly, but
You definitely are. I mean, you want to make it a healthy business, right? So you can
yes.
provide like for your salon team and like actually build it out to be like a career, a stable, like consistent like career. That's like what I'm hearing like from you.
Yes.
And of this like wibble wobble of like, well, some weeks it's like good and some weeks it's low, and like you want it to be consistent, which like I love that. I think that that's so great. And you know, the thing that I do love about this industry and all the different types of like industry leaders is that there are so many different types of like models and what works for like different people. And you know what, for like different stylists, they're going to want to be a part of like different like things. And that's a great thing like about like what you're sharing about the whole like community thing. And actually I have a podcast episode that I'm talking about community over competition, because like if our salon, or like not salon, but if our like industry as like a whole could get on board with this like concept of like we rise best when we rise together, and if we can all like, you know, like get on board with that, like that, you know, I'm not here at Nova Strands, like we're not going to want to like, we're not going to be aligned to serve like every single type of client. Like, you know, salon down the street might be a better fit, and like, you know what, yay for them. And I'm happy to like refer, you know what, I really, as much as I would love to serve you, I think that you're actually going to be a best fit with my good friend and salon owner down the street. And like, I literally go and get like chips and guac and margs with like the literal salon owner down the street. And like, she wins, I win. Like, the more that we could get on board of like removing the scarcity of like, well, I'm scared that I'm going to like A, lose my stylist to like another salon, or B, I'm going to lose clients to like another place or whatever. And you just get certain with like whoever is like meant to be alongside me, like in my salon space, is gonna be with me. And whoever's meant to be like at any other space, like I pray that they're with them, because if you're not in alignment in your salon space with like your team, with your clients, you're just met with friction. And that's really when that whole like scarcity starts to come in, and anxiety and stress, because you're operating in a place that's so out of alignment for you, but could be in total alignment for somebody else. And at the end of the day, the success that we should all be striving for is what feels true to you and what feels like in alignment for you. Because I know I felt my freest, my most peace, my most successful when I am like in total, complete like alignment and certainty, like with myself and with
Mhm.
what it is you do in your space. So I love that because like I totally hear that from you. Like you're in total alignment, like in your space and how you lead in your teams. And like it literally just that, like if everybody could get on board with doing that, it would eliminate a lot of stress, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, so then the next question I have is what ways have you personally noticed scarcity affect like your mindset or decisions or careers in different stages of your life?
Oh my goodness. So I would say actually, I think that I was running on scarcity pushed me for so long, which probably wasn't the worst thing. But then because I was so worried about like, when I was how I was telling you about like building a clientele, and when I became an independent stylist, I found out I was pregnant a week later. So that
Yeah.
first year I was pregnant. And then when I had her, I was like, I can't afford to not work. So a week later, I was back in the salon, not full time, but I was back in the salon doing clients hair a week later.
Mhm.
And after 4 weeks, I was full time. So, I mean, I never stopped. And the crazy thing is that when I look back on that, it's like I wasn't really making great money, but I had like this idea that if I didn't do it, I wasn't going to be making any money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, and then I think also as a salon leader, like I feel like I am now just starting to see my true potential as a salon owner. And so for the
Mhm.
first, I mean, I've been a salon owner for the past like 5 years. I've had assistants probably for like 6 or 7 years.
Mhm.
And I truly know going into it that I offer them something that they're not going to get anywhere else. Doesn't mean that the salon next door can't give them a good opportunity, right? But I just know that what they're going to get with me is going to be something that they did not get anywhere else. And I know with conviction what I do works because clearly it has worked. And
Yeah.
so I feel like I, as a salon owner and as a mentor, have allowed scarcity to let me like take a step back and let the stylist or the assistants run my business instead of me running the business, setting the standard. Like I literally have just been working really hard to find out like, okay, so what's the AMP brand? Like, yeah, you know what you stand for, but like we need to have words to that. So that way, once you have words to that, it gives you a different understanding and something that you can actually like set so that when people come into my salon, they know exactly who we are. We work with excellence every single day. What does excellence mean to us? It means having a standard. It means, like all of the things we have that all set out. And so
Mhm.
now there's no option but for like my business to run because of the standards that we've set. So
Right.
scarcity showed up because I didn't have those standards. I didn't have the, what is that word that I'm looking for? Like, I want to say rules,
Yeah.
structure. I didn't
Well,
have the structure.
yeah, you didn't have the core values of your business,
Mm-hmm.
like able to lean back on and stuff like, for us at the salon, it like being coachable is really important. So if I'm having like a moment with a stylist, like where I am coaching them and they're it's met with resistance, I have those core values I can lean back on. I'm like, remember, this is what is important to us here. And so all I'm trying to do here is lean in on that importance of being coachable, and that then it removes that like story that starts to infiltrate or infiltrate, like, or like integrity. That's really important to us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and also like as a salon owner, it's so important for you to know like where you need to set that boundary. Like I know for a fact if a stylist is operating out of integrity, there's going to be a conversation, there's going to be documentation, and then if it still doesn't change, then it's not going to work. So
Mm-hmm.
having those values laid out is going to help you as a salon owner and your team like know like these are the boundaries that we're putting into place, so that way
Mm-hmm.
you can get in alignment like how you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I found too, like if we're as salon owners, like what I found is that like most people who want to choose a commission salon, there's a few reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is most people don't really have that like as a salon owner, we have the knack to just be able, like, we've got that drive to do what it takes to make something happen. Whereas a lot of people really need the structure to understand what it takes to make it happen. They're not willing to go and like trial and error it. That feels scary to them. But if we set out like, this is exactly what you need to do, A, B, C, D, and E, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, like, so I used to believe that everybody did life just like I did. And so when things didn't go, when they didn't see it the way I did, I was just like, what is going on? And then once I learned that it was because they think differently than me and they do life differently than me, then it was like, oh, okay. Well, then as long as I say these things up front, then we never get to this time where I'm like scared to talk, walking on eggshells, like, and I couldn't, I couldn't afford to not have them. So I didn't want to like hurt any feelings, you know? And again, that's scarcity, because what am I going to do if you leave?
Right, exactly. But it's like, you can like, and I've been in that place, like where I had a full salon of stylists that it just, but I wasn't in full alignment with myself. And so it did feel like that, like scarcity and walking on eggshells and just like uncomfortable in my own salon space. And then I rose and I was like, no, I got clear on what it is I want, what we stand for, what's important to me. And, you know, I did go through that season where the salon kind of cleared out, which is scary, you know. But I'm so grateful for that season, because ultimately what it did is it created room for the people that were in full alignment to come be alongside. And that it feels like, I mean, it ends up being like on numbers and on paper, you are more successful, but B, you feel so much more free. And then, you know, now I know I can sit any one of my girls down to have a conversation. I'm not scared to do it. And they're always, even if I have to make like a shift or a change or anything, like I know that they know, like they know I'm looking out for their best interests and salon as a whole, and for them, like they know that. But like when you are clear with this stuff, it's so nice because you're just operating out of a place of certainty and integrity with yourself, of you following through with doing the things that you say you're going to do, right? And you say that's important, you know?
Yep.
So it's so important. But, you know, and I find like when you lack or when you are in a place of scarcity, it tends to lead you on a fast track to burnout. Because you're just like grasping at straws and you're overextending yourself and like overcompensating for things just to make sure like everything, like people still end up like choosing you and wanting to be a part of like what it is that you're doing. But what I want to ask is, was there a moment or a season when you realized burnout wasn't just about like working too much, but it was about how you were thinking and operating?
Yeah, actually, I will say, honestly, I just kind of went through that, and I just had a conversation with a girl that I work with, and you know, she's probably the best stylist slash assistant that I've worked with. But what happened was, when she first started, she really allowed me to like train in the moment, which was great. But then what happened from that is that, like, you know, she learned how to listen to everything I said, but she didn't learn how to move on her own. And then I was starting to resent the fact that it took me to tell her how to move. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I did this to myself. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault. And but now and then I was resenting, like it was annoying to be at work because I didn't want all that responsibility. And then it was like, well, now we've grown because I've got this second person who can help me, and we've got 3, 4, 5 clients in a day. But like it takes me having the mental capacity of 2 people. So yeah, sure, I wasn't physically burnt out, but mentally I was exhausted. And I don't think that I could really do much more. And then it was like, I couldn't see the next level. And usually when you get to that place, for me, what I find when you get to that place is when all of a sudden you see your business go like that, because you're not giving it the love that it needs. And in your mind, you're really asking for some help. And so you receive the help. It's just not the help that you wish that you got. And you're not getting the new clients anymore, or all of your clients all at once are deciding to have a mass exodus. I mean, maybe they're not wearing extensions anymore. whatever happens, right? But because I wasn't focused on trying to grow because I was scared to grow because I couldn't grow, then when that turnover starts happening, it's just all downhill.
Right, right. And it's so important to like think, and that's what I find happens so much because we are so like we live our life off of a schedule and like what the day is going to look like, right? But it's like as a leader in the salon space and when managing like the team and what it is that you're scaling, it's like you have to think like 5 steps ahead all of the time. Make sure that the steps that you are taking in the current moment are getting you to that 5th step, but you have a roadmap going all the way down versus just like showing up for the day and being like, okay, well, today we're going to to just like get through and survive the day. Like it requires like a lot of intention, and it makes all the difference. And it keeps you, because if you're living in the moment of the day, in the moment of like where your current business is at and not thinking ahead, it definitely because you are like, oh my gosh, I got like all of these things on my plate and I got all these people that are counting me and we're going to do da, 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 da. And versus being like, okay, like, you know, this is what we're doing, you know, months from now, but today what we're going to do to just like move the needle closer a little bit is we're going to focus on this. And that helps like give so much more like peace in those seasons. But you know what I find in those moments where I like to call it like my crash out, you know, in the moments like where I feel like I have like a crash out moment, I'm so grateful for them because it gives you that like perspective. And especially like if you're that type of owner that's like, you know what, I'm gonna like, you're so like like you hold yourself accountable to things, and like it's not everybody, it's like what could I do to do better, like and set us up for success like long term. I think that's such a thing that lacks in a lot of like leaders is just that sense of like accountability of like, yes, this happened, but what could I have done to do better? Like where was I like struggling and how can I change this like going forward? Because ultimately you're not in control of like other people, you're in control of yourself, which is such a powerful place to be, you know?
Yeah. And I think also going into like what you're saying with that as a leader, for me, as leaders, we should be like expecting our stylists to be accountable for themselves and to take ownership for themselves for the business that they want to have in their behind the chair or as their career. But how can we expect them to do it if we're not doing the same thing? You know? So, I mean, that was a part of the conversation that I had with the stylist where it's like, hey, this is what I did. And it like the result that we saw was this was your action. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I'm like, but I want you to know that's not your fault because you're just like falling into what I was leading you to. So as a person, you did what you were supposed to do. But moving forward, the expectation is going to be that I'm not going to be doing that and that you're not going to fall into that anymore. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's something so simple of just admitting when you were wrong and also like tying it into like how they also contributed to that, even though it wasn't their fault. They're still a contributor and their contribution has to be different moving forward since yours is too.
Right. Exactly. It's just everybody owning their part in like what obviously wasn't working and recognizing together, like you guys are both in agreement that this doesn't work, that you both have things that you're going to change, and then you're going to move forward because you both agree that it doesn't work. I love that. It's a beautiful like mindset to like be in. And, you know, it ultimately is going to just create like more blessings and like success around like your business and with like your salon team. So I love that so much. What are some of like the biggest like money narratives in our industry that you have unlearned in order to grow sustainably?
Clients won't pay me what I'm charging. That's a huge one. I mean, I don't want to say I live in the boondocks, right? Like I don't. I live really close to, like, my house is 10 minutes from Notre Dame. Most people know what Notre Dame is if you're a college football fan. So we live in an area that is like known, but it's still a pretty small, like the town that I live in is called Mishawaka. It's right next to South Bend. So there's like 30,000 people in my town. And even South Bend, it's like, I think there's 100,000 people. So it's not huge, but it's also a college town. So, you know, we have an influx of people in and out, in and out. Anyways, I do extensions and I charge a freaking premium and nobody ever bats an eye. And I told you, I raised my prices 25%. I did offer some things to some clients. Like I actually changed the way that I did things in my salon. Already I took out tips and then I created a membership. So anybody who, decided to be a part of my membership, they paid a monthly fee, and that monthly fee was pretty much just what they were paying in a whole year for their hair, broken down into 12 payments. So that's how I chose it. So each person's payment is going to be slightly different. And then in hair extension world, when it's time for a new install, that money that they pay goes into like their bank. So it creates a gift card, if you will. And then when they come in to get their hair done, it's there. So, you know, it was just kind of my way of trying to help people, like make it feel like it was spread out. And a lot of people love it. But in that moment, right? So now I'm telling them, then I'm actually putting a number to what they're spending a month. And some of them are spending $800-900 a month on their membership thing every single month to pay for their yearly hair, right? So that could have been a way that I lost a lot of clients, but I never lost one client that year. I raised my prices by 25%. And the people who were not a part of the membership were like, oh no, I'll gladly pay you that. Some of them, because I stopped asking for tips, some of them still bring me cash tips on top of that. And so the key to that is it's not that clients won't pay you. It's like you're not actually showing up as the person that you need to be in order to deserve what you're charging.
Right. It's honestly, again, it's one of those situations of like, get out of self and think of like, okay, this is as a business, like what I need to do to stay a business, right? Like I remember the first time I had my first big price increase because like I was operating from a place like where I think this number sounds good versus like when I got into like the weeds of looking at the facts of a business and like what I actually had to charge to stay in business and be going into the negative, I was like, oh my goodness. And I had to do like a whole pricing revival. And I told my clients, I said, you know, I've hired a business coach and we've gone into the weeds of everything. And she has shown me that these are the prices that I need to charge to be able to stay in business. And all of my clients were so understanding and so supportive. And I mean, it wasn't just a number I was like throwing out there either. Like it was a number of like truth. And like, if I'm going to be having a career and offering like a space for like my salon team, I can't just be like, you know, and I feel for clients that like go through things, like, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean that I can compromise like integrity when it comes to like pricing, you know? So I love what you said that you did is you started thinking like, okay, this is what I'm going to be charging in my business. How can I make this digestible to my clients and make it fit within their lifestyle to where it serves them without creating like a stressor or like a reason why maybe they would start like looking somewhere else. And so you met your clients like where they're at, like, hey, there's two opportunities. If you want to be a part of like our monthly membership, this is what this looks like. If you just want to pay in full, this is what this looks like. Whatever works best for you, I am happy to serve you that way. And I think that's like such a powerful place to be because you're holding your boundaries, but you're still meeting your clients where they're at.
Yeah. And then there was other things that happened because of that, because this was a few years ago when, I mean, so for us in the hair industry, 2020 was like mega. Like we had 2020, 2021, maybe even 2022. It was like business was crazy. Life was crazy. So let's go make ourselves happy and we'll spend all the money, right? Nobody cared. So, you know, we had these crazy businesses and I was in survival mode during that time. Then I had a meltdown because it was too much. And then that's when I said, I noticed that my business was dropping. Well, then it was like every single client that wanted to move, and it was like, oh my gosh, but they were supposed to pay me $700, and now I don't have $700 on that day. It's going to be 2 weeks later. Like, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? And for a lot of us, that makes a difference sometimes. Plus, in the middle of it, I unexpectedly became a salon owner. I was renting a suite from someone, and she let her lease lapse, so I became the salon owner then. So like, that's a whole nother story. But anyways, in the midst of all of that, that's what happened to me. So I had to figure out how to like sign a lease for everything and take care of it all, and all of those things. And then my rent increased by, I think, $2,000 a month or something like that. Like, it was a lot of extra money that I was paying that I hadn't expected. And so it pushes you a little bit into scarcity, where it's like, I can't afford to lose clients. Then you start performing out of scarcity. So I birthed this idea of the membership because I didn't want to be the stylist who had to be like, if you're going to cancel within 24 hours, like, start paying me all this money. That doesn't feel good to me. What felt good to me was knowing that that business was going to be there, or like that money was there. So when people started paying me on like a good portion of my client, I think I have like, for my clientele only, I think I have like maybe 15 people that pay me on a membership. And if you're paying me $500, $600, $700, $800 a month, times that by 15, that's a pretty good amount. Like, whatever it comes out to, I know that I can pay payroll, rent, and supplies out of my membership fees. So when people pay me in addition to that, then then you have more that can go towards other things or whatever. But anyways, what it helped me with was when people were moving their appointments, when whatever that, I don't know, just how that works, like last minute cancellation, it didn't affect me anymore. It just didn't affect me. So that helped.
Yeah. Because no matter what, like, you had they were a part of your membership, so they're paying it monthly. So if they like are moving their appointment, it's like, well, whatever, you're not counting on that like income on that day because they've already paid it in their membership.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of like, it's a different way of looking at it, because everybody's like, well, you're not really making more money. No, you're not actually making more money. But it's like, when it's always coming in, then that you've got like, your minimum is your memberships. That's your minimum. So then like, because what was happening for me was I was constantly like chasing after clients, thinking like, oh my God, I got to get new clients. How am I going to get new clients? Like, that was the only thought in my head all the time. And when you have that thought in your head 24/7, you're not working at your best. So then I could show up better as a salon owner, mentor. It helped me also. I went through and I redid my entire like website. I mean, I got so much done because the mindset went from having to get new clients every single day to like investing that time into something that was going to help me. Because, when you have the extra time on your book, if you're anything like me, I freeze, because in my mind, all I can think about is that I need a new client, but I don't know what to do. What's the next step that I could do to make it better? How can I make my clients want to like have their friends come in? And so I've got all of these thoughts like this, and I can't move. So it helped me push me so that I could start to move and I could start to change things. And
Right. It like almost like, well, gave you peace because like you had the structure and the revenue that was coming in no matter what, because you had the memberships. And so that gave you peace. And then it allowed you to have time, like when those like I like to call it like appointment opportunities. It's like when the like opportunity gaps like opened up on your schedule, you weren't so much like, oh shoot, I have to like forge the gap of what is now like lost in the day. You can so think like forward thinking, like, okay, now I have an opportunity to be able to sit down and like work on the things to serve like the guests that are meant to like hear me and hear my voice and be in my salon space, because you have the time to be able to do it now. And so I love that. It's such like a freeing place like to be in your business, is like, okay, like obviously, something isn't working in the business, and like identifying what that something is. And it's like, okay, well, what can I do that's in my control that would shift it to remove this like anxiousness, this scarcity, what is in my control, and what could I do to solve this problem? And coming up with memberships like solve that problem, like, and that is just like a great example of like one thing that you can do in your business to like rewrite it. It doesn't have to be like how everybody else is doing things. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like what feels good for you and what feels in alignment for you and what gives you the most peace. So I love that. So for the stylists who are feeling like they're constantly chasing clients and income or validation, what would you say to help them step out of that survival mode?
I feel like that's a little bit, I think it's just doing like, I guess it's kind of what we were just talking about. Do what you can do what you can control. Like take control of what you can control. So in
Mhm.
my opinion, that's what I did. And maybe this is more towards salon owners, but it could also be towards like stylists as well. But like as a salon owner, the buck stopped with me for so long, right? So like the past 2 years, my transition has been to try to grow a salon that was full of stylists that could do everything that I was doing. And so my way of doing that started with the memberships. And then I was like, okay, so how can I make a stylist be like me? Well, now I've also birthed an entire like education series within my salon to help train people. So, for me, that's what it looked like for me. But also as just a regular stylist to make the jump that I did to be like, from, let's say, from Walmart stylist to independent stylist. There was nothing that you could do except for just decide to do it, just
Yep.
decide to like walk off the ledge. So, yeah, don't chase after clients, but that's hard to say because if you're in that moment of your life, that's actually not a bad thing. It's not a
Yeah.
bad thing all the time, right? But it's a bad thing when that's the only thing that you know. And when you've done something like I've done and you've grown a multiple six-figure business and now you're in scarcity because you can't lose it. Like, that's a
Mhm.
different scenario, but then you have to take a step back and think about like, so what happens if a client leaves? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Does it make me a bad person? And if you
Mhm.
are scared that somebody's going to leave because you're not doing it good enough work, then maybe that's your idea. Go educate yourself more. And education doesn't mean you sign up for a class and travel across the country like you and I did. Education literally means like scroll on TikTok and watch hair videos. I learn every day from those things. Get on YouTube
Yeah.
and watch them. It doesn't mean that they're teaching you these big, huge lessons, but like just picking up one thing, watching somebody put a foil in, you're like, oh, I never thought to do that. And then you're going to put a foil in that same wave the next day. That makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
So, you can build your confidence that way. It's really, I'm going to say for sure, it's really hard to get yourself out of that. Like there's not one thing that I did. There was a multitude of things that I did. And it wasn't just like, I mean, the first thing that I did was see it, because sometimes you're living in it and you can't see it. So you
Right.
have to realize what it is and like, that anxious feeling that you're feeling inside of you, and you have to call it out by name. And once you can
Yeah.
call it out by name and drop the shame about whatever it is. So, for me, I carried a lot of shame and I realized that's what led me to scarcity. So stop being ashamed of whatever it may be. So you like fried somebody's hair off 10 years ago. Okay, so did I. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. That doesn't mean that people are going to find that out about you and never come back to you. Like,
Right. Well,
but we
and
hold
usually,
those stories.
yeah, well, and usually it's like those lessons of like messing up are ultimately like what change you for forever. And the only way that you fail in those moments if you decide to let it be the thing that like holds you back. Like
Mhm,
especially
mhm.
seeing as like you and myself, like we've been doing our hair, like we've been doing hair for forever. And like back when we first started doing hair, there wasn't all this information that was so easily available like it is now with like YouTube and like really cool like $15 a month like memberships or like
Mhm.
on TikTok, any of that stuff that was not available. Like if you wanted to learn how to do something different, you got to get your booty on a plane, go spend like all the monies and yeah, like travel like how we have. Um,
Mhm.
so now it's like I remember I heard it one time on a podcast, like in a day and age, like with technology being the way that it is, like ignorance is a choice. Like
Mhm.
you choose to just not know because it is so readily available to you now. So it's like, yeah, if there's something that you screwed up on, like you fell short, you messed up, like whatever it is, it's like, well, guess what? Like you have a pulse, you're a human, and that just
Mhm.
happens. And there
Mhm.
doesn't mean did something like, I mean, I turned a client's hair green one time. Like, guess what? I never have turned a client's hair green ever again since then, because I learned, and I mean, she didn't leave with green hair. I like fixed it, of course. But you know what? Like you learn from those moments, and you choose to have it. It's a choice. You know, you can either choose to rise or choose to like fall to the wayside of whatever situation that comes your way. And so I love that so much. And that is it's a huge difference to just make that decision of like, I'm gonna rise. I'm just gonna rise every day.
Yeah.
And choose right. Yeah.
Yeah, and choose what's most important, right? Because, you know, at one point you can either decide to let your story run you, or you can, you know, run your story and create a new one moving forward.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, this is such a good podcast. I love this so much. So like how I always love to like wrap up the podcast like with guests on is I always, because this is called Heal the Industry, right? And because my desire is that we like fix and like heal like all of these things in our industry that are often not talked about, and people feel like alone in. So if you had like a magic wand, or you could wish across the star that was going in the sky to like wave over our entire industry and instantly heal one thing, like what would it be for you?
Honestly, that everybody had the proper training from day one. Like, because I think even you and I, when we started doing what we were doing, we just shouldn't. And I mean, yeah, just changing that part of it, because I think that makes people show up, and it makes it if you don't have the proper training, and you know that goes hand in hand with like people not being willing to pay us and things like that, and then that leads to scarcity, and then it's just a snowball. So my passion is just creating that education that needs to happen, so that every single client and every single stylist has nothing but good things to say no matter what. So I think it's just that, and I don't know how I could say that in a different way.
Yeah, no, it's just like, well, because you're a really good leader, and you have an intention to like see people grow, be successful, and have peace, and not live in scarcity. But you know, unfortunately, that's not all salon owners, and that's definitely in like beauty school where the kids are, or not, I should say kids, but you know, the younger generation they're not like prepared much, and like also like with social media, it's a lot of like a highlight reel. So there's like there's also unrealistic expectations like when coming out into the industry, which is like hard. So I see that across like what you're saying is so many different like multitudes, which I 1000% like agree with, is just being able to set like a firmer foundation for this generation of artists that are coming out, because I see like a combination of like them not being prepared enough, and then also them getting in their own way of being like to learn the lessons and be successful. So
because
I love that. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's so hard. Like, I think that was one of the things that I should have said that I didn't, was it's so hard not to compare ourselves, whether you're a 20, 30, 40-year veteran or you're a brand new stylist. When we see these social media things, listen, anybody can make a photo or a video look good, plain and simple, they can. Right?
Yeah.
It can happen. Yeah. And so what we are seeing on their reels are a video or a photo that they made look really, really good. But not everybody can do like what we do long term and have our clients start with extensions because they have terrible frayed off hair, and a year later it's 6 inches longer, and people are like, how does that happen with wearing extensions? You know, like I guess that's what I would say is like, we get stuck in like comparing those things, and then we forget what our superpowers are. That would be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like having like a discernment over that, you know, and being able to like truly like produce like in confidence, like what your art is supposed to be. Like when we train our artists like in the salon, we have them train with like multiple different lead educators in space, because, and we encourage them like, listen, she does something different, and she does something different, and she does something different. which like to an assistant might be something that's overwhelming because it's like different things. But I always like set them up for success by saying, let this inspire you that
Yes.
like you can do things like a multitude of different ways and get a similar result. Don't be a robotic hairdresser, but try different things and see what feels right to you. Like own your art and how you were called to create it, right?
Mhm.
And I think if like more artists started leaning into that, like their art, instead of trying to be a robot and do everything like how one person like does it, and have that be like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do, exactly like this. Like don't live you know what, and from our background and with the education that we got, when I stepped out of that world and I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to live in a box. Like I see there's things that aren't working that I would like to change, but I feel stuck in this box of being like, no, it has to be done exactly like this, even though like, because I'm the one doing the client's hair, I'm seeing things that aren't necessarily working just right. And I want to change them, but I can't because I'm staying in this box. Once that box got blown up for me, I was like, I'm changing things. And you know what? It turned out better. Clients are happier. And I know I'm in full alignment with myself. And that's what I want for all of these artists and every hairdresser to be like, if something like, screw the box, like get out of the box. Like you're an artist.
Mhm.
We were never artists were never meant for boxes, like period.
Mhm.
Like get out and own who you are and what you're called to be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I love this so much. This is such an amazing podcast. Thank you so much for being on today. If our listeners want it, which I'm sure they want to, like go and follow you and see what it all is that you are doing at your space, like where could they find you?
So on Instagram, my handle there is just Aleta Marquez Plajer. It's just my name. And it just so happens to be where I got my salon name from too. It's Amp Hair Extension Studio. So both are on Instagram. And then I'm Aleta Marquez Plajer on TikTok.
Okay, perfect. Well, and don't worry, guys, like if you're like me and you're not like the greatest of spellers, I'm gonna put all of the handles in the show notes. So you can go ahead and like grab it from there. And when I post this on Instagram as well, I will be tagging all of her handles. And yeah, if you want to be a part of Heal the Industry and you feel called to like share your message of like, man, I just wish I could see this change, or I've done this differently and I want to share this change because I want to see that transformation. Like that's what this podcast is for. And so if you feel called to be a part of what it is that we are doing with Heal the Industry, please go to our Instagram handle at heal_the_industry on Instagram. And there's just a form in our bio that you fill out to be on the podcast. So this was so amazing today, Aleta. I appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this. And I'm so excited to hear everybody's like testimonies and what they take from this and start implementing in their salon spaces. So thank you.
Thank you.